Flatworms. Classification: Kingdom Animalia. Phylum Platyhelminthes. Class Chestoda. Scientific name Taenia solium and Taenia saginata. Common name pork tapeworm and beef tapeworm. General characteristics: the body of an adult tapeworm is flat and tape-like. It has a length of 10 meters and above. It is divided into a head, that is the scolex, a short neck, and a tail region. The head has a rostellum on which 2 rings of hooks are found. On each side of the head are 4 muscular suckers. The hooks and suckers help to attach the tapeworm to the inner walls of the host intestine. The whole body is covered by a smooth cuticle. The cuticle protects the tapeworm from being digested by the digestive enzymes of the host. The neck and tail regions are divided into segments called proglottids. These are joined to the head to form a chain called strobilus. Proglottids close to the head are smaller and immature. Those far away from the neck are mature. Tapeworms are called endoparasites because the adult stages live in the intestine of a primary host, which is man, and their larvae live in the muscles of the secondary host, which could be the pig or the cow. Examples of tapeworms are Taenia solium, that is pork tapeworm, and Taenia saginata, which is the beef tapeworm. Reproduction or life cycle of tapeworms. Tapeworms are called hermaphrodites, that is, they have both the male and female reproductive organs. Each mature proglotis has male reproductive organs called testes, which produce sperms, and female reproductive organs, which produce eggs. The eggs of one proglotis are fertilized by sperm of the same proglotis to form zygotes or fertilized eggs. This type of fertilization is called self-fertilization. The mature or gravid proglotis containing the fertilized eggs break off from the posterior end of the strobilus and is sent out with human feces. In feces, the fertilized eggs develop into a 6-hooked or oncosphere. These oncospheres are covered with protective shells. They cannot develop further unless they are eaten with feces by a secondary host. When these embryos in feces are eaten by a pig, their protective shells are digested in the intestine of the pig. The embryos are released and they use their 6 hooks to penetrate the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. In the bloodstream, they are transported to the muzzle. In the muzzles, these embryos form thick coverings around themselves called cysts. These encysted embryos are called bladder worms. These larvae cannot develop further until they are eaten in pork by a primary host. When poorly cooked pork containing bladder worm called measly meat is eaten by man, their cysts are digested in the small intestine of man. The bladder worm turns inside out, that is, evaginates, and its scolex becomes attached to the intestinal wall. At this stage, the bladder worm becomes a proscolex. The proscolex develops into an adult worm and the cycle continues. Additional characteristics of a tapeworm. Tapeworms are obligate parasites, that is, they depend totally on a host for food and shelter. They have a nervous system, hence are sensitive to their host. Tapeworms lack digestive, locomotory, skeletal, and circulatory system. They show degeneration of unwanted parts. They have a well-developed reproductive system. They are hermaphrodites. Adaptations to their mode of life. The scolex has hooks and suckers which help to attach the tapeworm firmly to the intestinal wall of the host. The thick cuticle prevents the tapeworm from being digested by the digestive enzymes of the host. It is semi-permeable, that is, it allows food into the tapeworm's body and allows waste out of its body. The body is very long and flat, giving it a large surface area for the absorption of food. The adult is a hermaphrodite having both male and female reproductive organs. Hence, it does not need a mating partner. The oncospheres have protective shells which help them to survive for long before being eaten by the secondary host. The embryos have 6 hooks which help them to penetrate the intestinal walls of the secondary host and get into the bloodstream. Bladder worms are protected by shells so that they are not damaged by the muscular tissues of the secondary host and the acid in the stomach of the primary host. The adult tapeworm produces millions of eggs in the right proglottids, which are sent out with feces. This increases the chances of at least one fertilized egg reaching a new host. The primary and secondary hosts increase the chances of survival of the tapeworm. The neck has a zone of growth to replace mature proglottids which break off from the strobilus. Economic importance or effects of tapeworms. The primary host loses much of its digested food to the tapeworm and so becomes hungry and thin. The patient suffers from abdominal pains, indigestion, vomiting, loss of appetite, and constipation. This condition is called teniasis. Since the tapeworm pierces the intestinal wall with its hooks in order to cling to it, the patient develops intestinal bleeding. If the bladder worm is present in the eyes of the pig, blindness occurs. If it is present in the brain of the pig, paralysis or even death may occur. Tapeworms can block the intestine of a primary host, preventing the spread of tapeworms. An easy way to control the spread of tapeworms is to prevent pigs and cattle from eating feces or grass contaminated with human feces. This means that we should prevent the contamination of grass. People must always defecate into well-constructed pit latrines or water closets, not into the bush or into water. In addition, beef and pork must be cooked properly before eating to make sure that any cysts it might contain are killed. Take drugs like mepacrine, alcapor, etc.